Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Concerned Citizens Media again. Uh, I have news and comments from Concerned Citizens, plus some video selection for tonight. So let's start reading the news first. The atrocity and the pressure campaign against Oromos continue. The Abiy Ahmed Army, the Oromia Special Force, local militia, and the administration are punishing the Oromos severely for not supporting Prosperity Party. These government authorities torture, including knocking out of 4 teeth from one resident, looted, confiscated their belongings, arrested them in mass, and held coerced or forced meetings to intimidate the Oromos. The area in which this inhumane treatment reported recently is West RC Zone in the district of Adaba in Oromia region. According to the report coming out of this district or Adaba, an 8 months pregnant woman named Ganno Erbo was jailed with her 1-year-old child by these power-thirsty authorities. Her husband, Jailu Haji Ammo, was also beaten, lost his 4 teeth, and his property was confiscated by these government security forces. All these cruelties and other grave human rights violations have been happening in Oromia on Oromos because they refuse to accept Abiy Ahmed Prosperity Party's political agenda. The Abiy Ahmed administration is using all the available means to force the Oromos surrender to his party objectives. Oromos have been crying for help from the global communities. So far, no credible aid is coming out visibly to stop their sufferings under Abiy Ahmed administration. Officials are acting without any accountability. No one is investigated and punished for the killings of thousands and thousands of innocent Oromos. Law and order is totally broken, especially in Oromia region. Unconfirmed report about the capture of Dr. Debretsion Gebremichael, president of the Tigray region, is circulating on social media. Amaras are celebrating this unconfirmed report with gunfires, music, and cultural dancing. There is no official confirmation from Abiy Ahmed's government or from other major international media. There is a confirmation of heavy fighting with the TPLF forces and the federal army supported by Amara special forces in the mountainous area believed to be the TPLF senior officials, and their fighters are concentrated and strategically positioned. Getting captured, surrendered, and being killed are part of the tragedies of engaging in the war. However, for this conflict, capturing or killing senior TPLF officials does not guarantee the end of this dangerous internal conflict. Dialogue and a political solution must be encouraged to end this bloody and hatred-filled civil war. In the meantime, Abiy Ahmed's law and order operation in the Tigray region is facing unexpected and very dangerous challenge. The Amara local militia and their politicians are reclaiming the areas they took from the Tigray region in this war. They are openly expressing their determination and the desire to hold on Maikaidra, Walqait Tagade, and other areas they took from TPLF forces. The Amaras held massive protests in these freed areas and they said they are ready to defend those lands from any attempt to take away from them. We sacrificed with our bloods and bones. Thousands and thousands of our people gave their lives for these lands. We do not want these areas to be governed under the Tigray region. These are the sounds of the Amara protesters in the recently freed land. It is not clear how the Abiy Ahmed administration is resolving these land claims by Amara region. There might be another conflict in the pipeline for Abiy Ahmed in this region in the future. The Oromia Police Commission said they are using GPS technology in their fight against Oromo Liberation Front, or Onek Shene as they like to call them, in various parts of Oromia region. Those fighters who refused to surrender peacefully to the security forces will be eliminated with the help of pinpointing GPS technology. Concerned citizens media advised the Oromia Defense Force, Special Security Force, and Police Commission to stop boasting about their technology superiority and start talking to the fighters and the Oromos about ending conflict which have been causing huge sufferings in Oromia region. They must start dialogue with all stakeholders to end all the grave human rights violations happening in Oromia. Bragging about your fighting power is not useful to heal the wounds Oromos have been suffering for more than 2 years under Abiy Ahmed's leadership. The United States is talking to the Taliban to end the sufferings of Afghans and American soldiers despite United States' much higher superiority in their fighting power or technology. So boasting is not the answer. Listening to the concerns of citizens is much better than depending on fighting power. So, they have to stop boasting and bragging about the fighting power or technology. Talk to the people and end the conflict and end the bloodshed in Oromia. That's the advice from concerned citizens to Oromia authorities and police commission, whatever they are. They have to stop the bloodshed. The following video recording will break your heart and can highlight about the importance of federal system for Ethiopians. True federalism can allow recognition and respect to all ethnicities living in Ethiopia. It will make sure no one is superior or inferior or prettier than others. On this video recording, you will see the young man, now is old, Ambassador Yilma Tadesse, might be ill-informed about himself and Ethiopian Amaras about 60 years ago. It could be the attitudes of the ruling class at the time. This video is very old. Somebody smart got it from the recording, and you will hear it. It's painful to hear it, but it's history in the recording. This guy is denying Ambassador Yilma Tadesse. At the time, he was maybe a college student, maybe. He is denying his Africanness, is about being an African, or blackness in the conversation he was having with his white peers. He was undermining the beauty of Ethiopian diversity. Anyway, that is expected from the Amara who claimed the lines of Judah and the King of Kings during Emperor Haile Selassie time. That's maybe the attitude of that timing. Ethiopians should be alert about ongoing political fast change, so that we will not going back to 60 years ago attitudes. Now I will let you listen to this video, then I will go to the last reading news. So you make your own determination, but I encourage others also to look back the recording of that time. Maybe more is hidden from the Ethiopian people about Emperor Haile Selassie time, how his officers thinking of other Ethiopians, the Amaras. This is a glimpse of their thinking. Possibly, you will hear these guys claiming he is prettier than others. The others are inferior. His darkness of his face is because of not because he is from Africa, but is due to excessive sunshine. Okay, let's listen to this. It's not long. Then we'll come to the other videos plus one last reading news.
People drafted and came to the northern part of Ethiopia, and then they migrated inwards. And time went on, they stayed and then the Hamitic races from the bordering from the south and from Sudan and things like that, from the countries.
But if you, excuse me for interrupting, but if you don't have Negro blood, then this is news to me. The Ethiopians, I would think, wouldn't have any particular feeling about race relations in other parts of Africa.
We don't at all feel any relationship with it. It's none of our concern. I mean, we just don't care about it. As we don't have the Negro blood, we shouldn't have to worry ourselves. I mean, the color you might, the color of my face is dark because it's due to the exposure of the sun. And my country is a mountainous country. It's 800 feet above sea level. And it's more or less nearer to the sun than the other countries that lay near the equator.
Yilma?
Yeah.
You're not white?
And not black?
Not black. What
Yeah.
are you?
It's just in between.
Yilma, and I would like to know, are you, for instance, very much interested in the South African race policy? Or do you stand more or less objective towards that?
Not at all. We wish you would do things fairly. I mean, we wish you don't treat the native South Africans as you do right now. But as a matter of fact, we don't care. We just listen to your policies and things that go on in South Africa. But I'd like to ask you one question. Would it become more, would it be, do you think it would be a little...
Wait, just before...
Would the matter be worse or better, I mean, within these few years, or what is the stand right now? This South African problem.
Could I just ask you another question before I answer yours?
Yeah.
Is there any discrimination, for instance, between the separate tribes in your country? How do you, for instance?
I'm very happy you brought that point. As a matter of fact, the Amhara tribes consider ourselves superior to the other tribes, the adjacent tribes that live in the same community. And we just consider them inferior and consider ourselves superior. And that could be something of segregation, but it's not actually in the sense that you take it and the Americans in Little Rock take it. I mean, it's just very unprominent.
I mean, do you mean that you think that the other tribes are perhaps a little too primitive, for instance?
Not a matter of primitiveness or so. It's just a matter of ignorance, I shall say.
Oh.
I mean, the Amhara tribes are more cute and clever. And that's why, they're just...
That's your tribe?
Yeah, that's my tribe. I'm
That's
proud of
very modest, yeah.
Yeah.
And Yilma, do you have whites in Ethiopia? White people?
Foreigners?
White people, yes.
Yeah, lots of them. We have the Americans, as a matter of fact. They're working in different departments. And I'd like to say one point on that. They seem to be more cooperative in... they looked as though they are cooperative in my country, and I thought it was because they were in a foreign country that they should cooperate. But no, I proved it right here. They have assemblies in communities and things like that. I mean, they are more cooperative than I actually saw it in my country.
Yilma, just to get back to another point, do you then think, for instance, it's fair that if there is discrimination in Ethiopia, even between, well, the same race and the same nation?
Not the same race, of course, the same nation.
The same nation. But do you think then it's fair to judge South Africans as white towards black? If you don't, for instance, acknowledge the less good Ethiopians,
we do acknowledge them. I don't mean we don't actually consider our discrimination, what you call it, is not as prominent and worldwide known as it's in South Africa.
At Metro, we know you work hard. That's why switching to Metro...
Okay, that could be ill-informed, ill-educated, could be, the policy of the timing. He is just expressing what he was taught at home by his family or in that group. I think this guy is still alive. He is an ambassador. So I think he should apologize for Ethiopian, for Ethiopian peoples, just like, calling them inferior, and Amaras are more prettier than others, denying his origin. It's painful, really, to hear these things.
Oh, isn't? Because this season there's zero fees to switch. Get on.
Well, what are we actually saying here? That there is all kinds of discrimination, and discrimination is all right as long as it isn't too prominent, or as long as it isn't between black and white. What are we saying here, anyway?
No, it's like this. She said, do you think the discriminations in your country is good, or the segregation?
Excuse me, let's hear from Susie on this, because Brazil's got a special point of view, I'm sure.
No, what they wanted to say is that he was telling her that she has discrimination. She's telling him he has...
Segregation, not discrimination.
I'm sorry, segregation. And she's telling him that he has a kind of segregation too. And he won't admit it.
I did. I just told you first of all. How did you happen to know it?
I consider segregation different.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're all different.
Well, what's it like in Brazil, Susie?
Well, my country has a very good point, a point of advantage in that, because we have no segregation at all. And we could be in the same position as the United States, because we had slaves just the same as they did, just about the same time as they did. Only our country was a colony colony of Portugal. The United States was a colony of England. The Englands are Anglo-Saxons. The Portuguese are Latins. And the Latin race, how you say, mingles very easily. So there were marriages between black and white. They form mulattoes, which are not black and are not white. They mingle and mingle and mingle. So now we don't have black and white. We have all sorts of colors, from white to very black, with light brown in between. And in Brazil, there's just no question if that person has a little Negro blood, like here in the States. He has 1/8 of Negro blood, he's considered a Negro. He has 1/16, he's considered white. We just don't have it. You look at the person, look at another one, they're people. That's what's different. And I wanted to ask you something, Rina. You say there's a great segregation in your country.
That's right.
And in your country, do you have prejudices against the black people?
Well, I wouldn't actually say prejudices. Perhaps I should just explain this to you. Everybody seems to have heard of apartheid during the last few months, years. And I think it's perhaps misinterpreted in most instances. I'll tell you what apartheid actually means. It means the development of two separate racial groups within their own areas. And Susie, you said that there is no discrimination whatsoever in Brazil. Could you just tell me more or less, are there more whites or more blacks in Brazil?
There are more whites.
There are more whites?
Yes, there are more whites. But you can say white and black. White and
yes.
not white.
Oh, yes.
Because the blacks aren't just black, they're all colors, as I told you. Because the whites marry very easily with the black and with the Indians. In Brazil, that
yes.
happens very much. So we just don't count black.
Shop the Joseph A. Bank Holiday Sales Event. Get sweaters starting at 2 for $59.
Blacks and whites, just people, you know. It's very different from your country.
For instance, would you marry a black
one? I think that I personally wouldn't marry a black one because my parents wouldn't approve of it.
And don't you think that's a little bit of discrimination?
It is.
I assure
On my part, I wouldn't. But I'm not a real Brazilian because my parents are Swiss. But the real Brazilians,
yes, they would.
Yes, they would. And they do. They do very often. They do it all the time, in fact. Yes, there's really no discrimination in this. But now, let me come back to the question. You
Fine.
said you have a kind of prejudice in your country. Do you have it here? Do you feel any prejudice against a black person here? Do you feel kind of awkward?
Oh, no, not in the least. For instance, I think that integration in America is perfectly right. And I think it should be done. And therefore I approve of it. But I just don't see how integration would work in South Africa, at least not for the present. For in South Africa, it's 3 million whites against 12 million. Whilst in America, it's altogether different. And I'm quite assured that the present policy that we follow is going to be the solution of the problem at last. Actually, I hope
Could
so.
you imagine the Brazilian problem having been solved like that?
No,
Why not?
it won't ever work. Because people are people. They can't be separated. You stay here, you stay here. You are white, you are black. You can't. Are you God to judge what they have to do, where they have to stay? You have to go in those schools, they have to go in those schools. You marry this one, she marries that one. No.
No, it's not a question of who is God and who's going to judge, but it's a civilization against a civilization. After all, it is the white South Africans that have built up South Africa to where it is now, with the help of the other, but with the supervision. With the supervision of the black side, you know. Oh yes, perhaps it should, but I don't know. After all, it's not fair to think that South Africans should just quit all their good work right here. For instance, I couldn't tell what is going to happen in future, but I think for the present time, there is no other solution. For what would you think?
Well, I think that people have the right to live as they want to. I think you can't put a barrier between people. Let them go and do as they wish to. If they want to go to your schools, let them. If they don't want to, okay.
I'm sorry, our time is up and you're just beginning to get into the interesting part of the discussion. It's a good note to end on that you gave us, Susie. People are people. In a brief summary, I think I've learned
This holiday at T-Mobile, get an iPhone 12 with 5G on us on every single plan. Switch now and save 20% in your...
a couple of things tonight. I've learned a little bit more about Ethiopians' racial background. I've learned something about schools in Europe these days, and the fact that they don't teach current history. We may do a little more talking about schools. I think I should say, too, that our purpose is not so much to tackle a single subject exhaustively and reach conclusions. Maybe at the end of 3 months we'll just have a few tentative conclusions of the world we want. Our purpose is rather to give you some of the fun and maybe a little of the excitement that comes when this group of young people from all over the world get together and try to get to know each other. Our time's up, and so we have to say goodbye until this same time.
Okay. That's an interesting discussion, but I'm disappointed about this young man representing Ethiopia, but he's talking only about the superiority of Amaras in Ethiopia, and others are considered inferior. That is make me disappointed. Plus, he's acting like coming from somewhere, not from African origin. That's very bad, really. Okay.
As pure as the water.
Okay, let's read the last news. Then I have 2 videos. Nigeria joined State Department list of violators of religious freedom. The Trump administration, for the first time on Monday, designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern, in short, CPC, of violation of religious freedom. One of the 10 highlighted by the State Department for failing to stem the persecution and discrimination of faith groups. Nigeria is the first democracy to be labeled a CPC. CPC, as I said, country of particular concern, particular severe violation of religious freedom, a designation that opens it up to economic sanctions. So this is the first step. First, they put you in a blacklist for some reason, then you will be sanctioned financially or by other means. So, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that the West African nation and 9 others were being singled out for engaging in or tolerating systemic, ongoing, egregious violation of religious freedom. The other 9 countries in the country of particular concern are Burma, China, Eritrea, Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. These are the 10 countries, including Nigeria, blacklisted as country of concern. Credit for this news is the Hill. So let's go to the other two videos, then I will conclude today's presentation. First, let's go to India. Indian farmers protest. Then we'll come to the last segment about Ethiopia. This is also a 5-minute video.
Roads into the capital, Delhi. They are protesting agricultural reforms that they say will leave them at the mercy of big corporations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said protesters are being misled by the opposition parties and that the laws will actually benefit them.
These 20,000 farmers aren't going anywhere. Their trucks and tractors are blocking major highways near India's capital. Each of our tractors is loaded with rations for up to 4 months. Until the time the government reverses these new agricultural laws, none of us will go back. The farmers feel their livelihoods are under threat. New laws mean the government will soon stop buying grain at guaranteed prices. The farmers claim that could leave them at the mercy of corporations who won't pay enough for their crops. India's Prime Minister is trying to placate the groups because their protests are causing disruption and threaten to cost him politically. I want to tell the citizens and farmers from the banks of the river Ganges and the holy city of Varanasi that we are working with intentions which are as pure as the water of the river Ganges and without any intention of betrayal. Modi's government says the laws give farmers the freedom to sell their crops to private buyers rather than through the state. They insist the laws will drive up prices, but the farmers remain unconvinced. We have always suspected the government's intentions because they have become a slave of the corporations. They want to turn us into their slaves as well. The farmers' protests have been going on for months, since Parliament passed the new laws in September. But they only caught the country's attention in recent days, when thousands of farmers clashed with police. Security forces used tear gas and water cannons to prevent protesters from entering Delhi. They were stopped just outside the city. But they're now determined to camp out for the long haul.
Well, for more of this story, let's bring in DW's correspondent Nimisha Jazwa in Delhi. Nimisha, what can you tell us about the situation right now?
Well, Gerhard, the government has invited farm leaders to talks 2 days before they intended to, citing winter temperatures and the coronavirus at the protest sites. And the farmer leaders have agreed to go this time because the offer of talks is unconditional. But of course, this does not necessarily mean that we have a solution close at hand. This is the third such round of talks between the government and farmers. But the true deadlock is resulting of the fact that the government insists that it will not roll back the laws, that these laws are very beneficial to the farmers, and through talks is trying to convince the farmers about their viewpoint, while farmers insist that they will not stop protesting until all three laws are rolled back completely.
Well, what do farmers fear most about these new laws, and are these fears actually justified?
Well, Gerhard, it's important to understand what these laws actually propose. One of the major proposals changes how exactly farmers can earn from their crops. So far, they've only been allowed to sell at government-designated state markets at a specific price. And now these laws allow them to go outside these markets, to markets further away from their base farms, as well as to privates and corporates as well. But however, the laws do not mention a key proposal that is central to the farmers' concerns, which is the minimum support price, or MSP. The MSP is basically a base guarantee price that the government offers to farmers. The new laws do not mention this. Farmers fear that gradually the government will pull back from their responsibility of providing this price as corporates take over, leaving them in the lurch.
Nimisha, you mentioned the government wants to meet farmers' leaders today. Do you think looking at all this pressure coming from the street, really, are they due to give in to these protests?
Well, giving in to the protests right now, Gerhard, entails retracting the laws, rolling back the laws completely. The government has emphatically said that it will not be doing that. So there will have to be some give from either side. Probably if the farmers agree to a new law which emphatically states the guaranteed price that they're missing in the current laws, that may show a way forward. But so far, no backing down from either side.
Thank you very much. Nimisha Jasmal for us. In Delhi.
Okay, that's DW report. Credit for DW. That's Indian. Let's see, so we have one last one. Come on now. Okay. Okay, that's the Indian farmers protesting against the government, suspicious of the new law. I think maybe the government didn't have a detailed discussion with the farmers first. That could be one reason, just changing laws without enough consultation, discussion with the farmers. So the other thing I surprised about this one is nobody killed, nobody arrested, nobody tortured. They just came out to protest the regulations. But in Ethiopia, especially in Oromia region, we hear every day somebody killed, somebody getting killed, somebody getting arrested, somebody losing teeth, mass arrest. So I don't know why we do not have the courage to come out and protest against all these brutalities in a massive like Indians. I know the government has a policy to shoot and kill, but still we have to come out and protest peacefully. How long we gonna sit home and keep listening to agonizing news of somebody just, especially the youngsters, the country's futures being killed by security forces and hang on trees, on cars, and kill them and give to the wild animals. Too much going on in Oromia, and it's very shame on Oromos for not coming out and challenging these old opinions, challenging peacefully. I don't tell them to throw stones and break properties. Just come out with a strong number and show their hands like before. Resistance symbol. Say no to the killing in Oromia. Say no to the mass arrest in Oromia. Say to the breakdown in law and order in Oromia. So many horrible stuffs are happening. There is no law and order. There is no accountability. So how long they're gonna They're gonna keep silence. They're silent. They have to come out like Indians to protest the brutality, to form their own government in that region. If not, they will become slaves of OPDO. Okay, this is my comment. And the last one is just 2 minutes, maybe comment about the situation in Ethiopia from from United Nations briefing. Let's listen to that one and finish today's presentation.
Okay, I have a statement on the situation in Ethiopia. The Secretary General is very concerned about the current situation in the Tigray province in Ethiopia. He feels that it is essential to quickly restore the rule of law in full respect for human rights, promote social cohesion, an inclusive reconciliation, as well as to reestablish the delivery of public services and guaranteed unfettered humanitarian access. The United Nations remains totally committed to supporting the African Union initiative. We also remain fully committed to mobilizing the full capacity of the United Nations to provide humanitarian support to refugees, displaced people, and all population in distress. The Secretary General has been conveying these messages in the numerous conversations he's had with United Nations representatives on the ground and regional leaders, as well as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia, with whom he spoke earlier today.
Is it possible to have a follow-up?
Yep.
The conversation with the Ethiopian Prime Minister, he has previously said this has nothing to do with the international community, it's an internal matter. Is that still the Ethiopian position?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for the Ethiopian position, but what I can tell you is that they've had a number of conversations. Sometimes the Secretary General calls the Prime Minister, other times the Prime Minister has called the Secretary General, so they've been, I'd say, involved in an active dialogue.
The Secretary General is calling for a guarantee to unfettered humanitarian access. That was agreed last week, we were told. There was an agreement on this. Does that suggest the agreement is not being complied to by the Ethiopian side?
I think what this implies that the agreement still needs to be fully operationalized, and we very much hope that that will happen.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You know, he spoke.
Okay, that's a very short statement from the United Nations on the situation in the Tigray region. Still, the United Nations is very concerned about the situation in Tigray, about respect for rules of law and humanitarian aid. So the war is not over yet, as the Prime Minister claims. Still conflict is going on. As so many experts suggested, the war will not end. It may continue in the different form, the guerrilla form, and the TPLF and the TPLF fighters. They have experience how to deal with guerrilla war. So we have to wait and see what will be the end. So there is a concern expressed from the United Nations, and there is no rules of law. There is still a conflict zone, even though they capture capital cities, a couple of big cities, but the surrounding is still under TPLF control. So we will follow it, bring to you on the next presentation with a video from United Nations or other resources. That's enough for today from Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for taking your time to listen to the Concerned Citizens Media. Appreciate your time. If you have comments, suggestions, you can do it under my video. So long, everyone, and wish I wish the concerned citizens media wish peaceful end of bloodshed in Oromia regions. We want to hear good news from Oromia, not about the killing of teenagers, about the arrest of farmers, mothers, about the killing of women, raping women. We don't want to hear. We don't want to hear about the army or the Oromo Special Force bragging about their technology. We want a peaceful negotiation to settle the issues, the concerns of the Oromo people. So we'll follow it and I will bring it to you. Thank you again. So long, everyone.